ask you to please raise up your hand if you have ever had unsafe sex. You might feel too embarrassed to raise your hands. For my generation and my parents, most of us probably had unprotected sex before our marriage and during our marriages. So if anyone in this audience raised their hands, I would ask to speak to them later after this talk and have a simple sex talk with them. Why are we embarrassed to talk about sex and relationships? According to UNICEF, 1 in 4 teenage girls in Tanzania are either pregnant or has had a child. According to UNESCO, only 27% of girls in Tanzania graduate from their lower secondary school education, and many dropouts are due to teenage pregnancy and forced marriages. Globally, World Health Organization reports that teenage pregnancy and childbirth complications are the leading cause of death for teenage girls. Why are these statistics so high and scary? What are we not doing right? A lot of teenage girls in Tanzania have sex unintentionally because their boyfriend told them they loved them and they wanted to marry them. The girl falls in love. The boy is not in love but desire for a girl. And the boy has no intention of marrying the girl. That's how sexual relationships started. Many other teenage girls are forced into sexual relationships with older boys and trusted men adults because of some simple sex motives, rape cases, lack of courage to negotiate sex rights, and lack of proper sex information. Where are our young people learning about sex, HIV/AIDS, early pregnancy, and other transmitted infections? Why are we quiet? I grew up in a small remote village in Tanzania, and I didn't learn about sexual reproductive health until I was 15. I was raised by my parents in a household with 10 sisters and 5 brothers. There's no doubt in my mind that my mother was special, unique, and a hero. But like any other woman in our village, she didn't talk about sex, especially around her children. As a teenager, I was anxious and curious about everything that was happening with my body and my feelings, everything that went on intimately between women and men, and I was afraid of men. I was a good student, so I attended secondary school in the city where I made lots of good friends from different backgrounds, but none of us knew anything about sex. We had lots of worries and doubts about sex. We heard that sex takes away premenstrual pains, that having sex frequently with older men will give you an amazing feminine shape, that menstrual pads causes cancer, that you can avoid pregnancy by drinking cold water after sex, and you can drink cassava leaves tea and get rid of pregnancy. No one was there to give us proper information about sex. Our parents' generation thinks that sex education will promote sexuality and immorality, and it's not the role of the schools to discuss sex education and relationships. I mentor adolescent girls. As the director of the Girls Foundation of Tanzania, we sponsor highly achieving girls from underserved communities from secondary school through university. And you better believe that none of my girls are going to get pregnant on my watch. I want to declare interest that I have 4 of my girls in the audience with us today here. We provide them with proper sex information, self-defense trainings, family planning information, practical first aid trainings, proper process and procedures of reporting rape cases and other sexual abuse. All of this happens at the Girls Center during their school holidays. But of course, we all know the power of peer pressure and may have done some dumb things in our lives because of our friends. Growing up in Tanzanian culture, my brothers were taught that men do not cry. Men do not feel shy. Men are courageous. Men cannot lose the fight. Men can do it. Men are not emotional. And when boys had sexual relationships, they are considered productive men. And that's a good sign of a perfect man. Boys are not taught how to handle their normal sexual desires. I was taught to stay away from boys because boys are not good for my education, because boys are not good for my health, because boys are not good for my personality, and that boys may totally ruin my image and kill my life dreams. Boys were enemies of my every step as a girl. Elders were protecting girls from boys' sexual attempts while teaching us that nothing good comes out of relationships with boys. And yet, boys were left untrained on how to respect girls around sexual matters. When I was 16, 3 of my classmates were expelled from school because they were pregnant. And I became more scared of boys and men. In one school we visited this year in Arusha, 5 from 4 girls were expelled from school because they were pregnant. And these were the girls at the level of graduating from their lower secondary school education and identify their future career path. I know at least 100 stories of teenage girls and young women from my village, from my school, from my university, from my sister's friends who didn't plan to become pregnant. All of these girls dropped out of school and became part of the landscape of the very poor. I can bet you that every Tanzanian in this audience has a story about a teenage girl getting pregnant accidentally. At the Girls Foundation of Tanzania, we have been equipping our girls with a wide range of life skills, including empowering them to become sexual health youth advocates. This happens through peer-to-peer programs. Our teenage girls conduct workshops and focus group discussions with boys and girls in the audience. They challenge the students to have open discussions about their puberty challenges as their feelings and bodies are changing. During these discussions, boys were struggling to fit into the girls' sessions, as well as girls were very shy with boys in the sessions. Our trainers were worried that boys will not participate actively in sessions related to menstruations and other girls' issues. But boys turned up positively and became very interested in giving valid suggestions on how girls can deal with puberty challenges. It was a life lesson to both our trainers and participants that boys are untapped resources for girls' protections against puberty challenges. Similar sessions were conducted in different schools with very positive discussions, and often these discussions ends up with exploring what safe sex is and how to control or deal with sexual emotions. In one session at all-boys school, boys were angry with higher classes boys dating girls in the lower classes and often getting them pregnant. In the discussion, boys agreed not to sexually disturb the girls in the lower classes. Boys in these sessions wanted to learn how safe masturbation is, how to control their emotions, how to be sure that their sex organs are okay without actually doing sexual intercourse. And if you wanted a private talk about sexual transmitted infections, which are repeatedly affecting them, and they feel shy to consult adults and go for treatment. It was clear to our trainers that boys care deeply about the welfare of their mothers and sisters, and so they can be keen to help fellow adolescent girls to successfully pass puberty and reach their full potential. I know a boy who was worried about sex. I know a boy who believed that having as many sexual partners as possible will help his penis grow longer. A boy who believed that doing sexual intercourse with a virgin girl cures HIV/AIDS. I know a boy who believed that using more than one condom makes him safer. I know a boy who believed that if he don't do sexual intercourse before marriage, he won't make his wife pregnant. I know a group of boys with similar worries and doubts and lack of proper sex information, and still they have a culture which is preventing them from asking for more clarifications about sex from trusted adults. Why are we still embarrassed to talk about facts of sex and relationships with teenagers? I know a girl who doesn't think she'll get pregnant the first time. A girl who thinks she can't get pregnant between periods. I know a girl who thinks that when she turns 18, she will no longer be HIV positive. I know a girl who believed that contraceptives causes infertility. I know a girl who believed that boys will smell her menstruation blood. And so she misses classes for 36 days in a year. Why are we keeping boys and girls in the total darkness about the fact of sex and life risks they're facing, such as early pregnancy, HIV/AIDS, and other sexual transmitted infections? It is well known that in Tanzania, a pregnant girl is expelled from school, and it is impossible for her to return to continue her formal education. I want all of us to imagine Tanzanian communities where a girl will feel safe, valued, protected, respected when surrounded by boys. I want to imagine Tanzanian community where a boy will have proper sex information and they don't need to do anything to prove anything. Tanzanian communities where boys will share the pain that girls are having when they're forced into sexual relationships and join their protection team. I want to imagine Tanzanian communities where boys will have freedom to ask for clarifications on various data sources they hear from different things related to sexual reproductive health and be advocates of their own sexual health. So how can all of us chip in? Education will empower both boys and girls to make health choices and proper sex decisions. Adults and professionals, we can do it by listening, advising, and encouraging young people to learn about proper sex information. Inform them about available health services and youth centers in Arusha and all over the country. Talk freely about safe sex, early pregnancy, HIV/AIDS, and other sexual transmitted infections, as well as puberty challenges they are facing without judging them when they do so. Dear parents, it is time to recognize that providing safe, proper sex information to your kids doesn't lead them to promiscuity. Be honest and open to them as it leads them to their safety. Teenage boys and girls, talk to your peers honestly and openly. Be comfortable to ask for more information about sex information you hear from different sources from trusted adults. Let boys and girls join these discussions to learn about their normal sexual changes so as they protect and respect each other through puberty challenges and change the current source of data of sex drives. Let all of us do it by changing the dialogue right now and right here. Thank you.